Good morning, family life. How are we doing this morning? Better than me, huh? Man, you just let people know you're not feeling well, you'll clear out the front row in a heartbeat. Somebody asked me how I'm doing. I am blessed. I am blessed. Holidays always seem to amplify what's already happening, doesn't it? Pressure, buy the wrong gift, stress, fatigue, schedule, unrealistic expectations. Today we're going to start a series called Hope for the Holidays. Because for some people, it's not the most wonderful time of the year. Some people, it's a difficult time. Today's message is titled, When You Are Depressed. But don't necessarily think that term's always encompassing a clinical mindset of depression or medical depression. Maybe it's just down in the dumps, the blues, the holiday blues. Kind of like if your team lost yesterday and didn't win, but just kind of gets you feeling pretty low. But usually when we're feeling down in the dumps, our response usually assists the problem and doesn't bring a solution. Don't raise your hands on this, but some of us, when we're down in the dumps, we spend more than we should. Some of us eat more than we should. Some of us go more antisocial than we should. And God has a better answer for us than spending, eating, and sitting in our depression and getting deeper and deeper in that. And there's lots of lists out there you can look at on how to handle the holiday blues. I'm sure Oprah's got a good one. And probably says something like this. Here's what you need to do. Eat right. Get rest. Exercise regularly. Organize your time. Enjoy activities that are free. There's some good don't lists that are out there. Don't eat too much. Don't spend too much. Don't dwell on the past. Don't have unrealistic expectations. Those suggestions are not bad. Those would be good things to do, but they just don't go far enough. This morning, I want to share with you about 5 needs when you're depressed or down in the dumps. Hear me clearly. Not 5 plug-in factors that if you do this, all your problems will go away. No. Not take these 5 progressive steps and everything's going to be fine. No. But 5 needs that you have when you're down in the dumps, when you're feeling depressed, action steps that you can and should take. And we're going to look at an Old Testament passage today. It seems like it has no tie into Christmas, but it actually does. Her name is Hannah. She was married to a guy named Elkanah. Hard to pronounce his name. Elkanah. It's in 1 Samuel is where we'll be in just a moment. But Hannah had something most of you don't have. How many of you have a father-in-law? Raise your hand, please. How many of you have a brother-in-law? How many of you have a wife-in-law? Hannah had a wife-in-law because Elkanah had 2 wives. What the Bible records doesn't mean the Bible approves of, but Elkanah had 2 wives. Well, Hannah didn't have any children. Peninnah, she had a litter full. So Peninnah had kids and Hannah doesn't, so the culture tells Hannah that she failed. We're looking at everything from Hannah's perspective today. And every year, their family would go to Shiloh for the annual sacrifice. Not an animal sacrifice, an annual sacrifice. It was a celebrative time. It was a seasonal event. And the father of the family would get gifts for all of his kids, get gifts for all of his grandkids, get gifts for all of his wife. And he would go to Peninnah, the one wife, and say, here's a gift for you, and here's all the gift for all your children. Then he'd go to Hannah and go, here's one gift for you. So every year, at the same time, during a celebrative time, Hannah got reminded that she doesn't measure up, she's not good enough, God apparently has not blessed her. It got worse at that certain time of the year. We see this in 1 Samuel chapter 1. Different sound. This went on year after year. Whenever Hannah went up to the house of the Lord, her rival, her wife-in-law, provoked her until she wept and could not eat. Have you ever been at the spot where all you could do was cry and food didn't even satisfy what was interesting to you? She's down in the dumps. She is depressed. She has a reason to be. Her pain and her depression are severe. She's cried away her appetite. And every year, the same time, the same kind of situations going along, the same kind of celebrative time, same pain, hurts, heartaches, loneliness, stress. She's got a lot to deal with right now. And maybe that's where you're at. Or somebody you know. I'm pretty sure this message will apply to you. Go ahead and pull your bulletins out. If you didn't get them when you came in, lift your hand. I'll make sure that you get one this morning. And you may want to bring that jingle bell down a little bit. There we go. Number 1, I need to admit how I feel. Remember, these are not 5 easy plug-in steps to make everything bad go away. But when you're down in the dumps, you need to admit how you feel. This means you stop. You stop running from what you feel. You stop lying about it. You stop denying it. You stop saying, I shouldn't be feeling this way. I shouldn't be feeling this way. You are feeling that way. You need to admit it. And maybe that's what you need to do at the altar this morning, is just admit it. Bring it to God and admit it. Verse 10, in bitterness of soul, Hannah wept much and prayed to the Lord. Bitterness of soul. Normally we think that would be a disqualifier for authentic prayer, but maybe it actually prospers us and propels us more to more authentic prayer when we are able to do it with exactly, truly how we're feeling. She's feeling lousy. She can't do what she's supposed to do, which apparently is to have lots of children. She's made fun of by the woman she has to share her husband with. How should she be feeling? She's feeling probably exactly how she should be. What should she do with these feelings? Admit them. Bitterness of soul didn't prohibit her prayer. Matter of fact, she prayed so fervently, apparently, that the prophet guy said this to her. She accused her of being drunk, and she said, "Not so, my Lord. I am a woman who is deeply troubled." So she admits how she feels again to somebody else. "I've not been drinking wine or beer. I was pouring out my soul to the Lord." Have you ever prayed so intensely you were accused of being drunk? Or have you ever been drunk so intensely that you were accused of praying? Let's not go there. But that's what she's doing. She is that authentic and transparent before God about how she feels that others can notice. The feelings exist. They're neither right nor wrong. They're not sin. They pop up when things happen. But what do we do with them? The world says mask them. Christ says confess them. And maybe that's what you need to do at the altar today. God, I hurt right now. God, this time of the year stinks. And just tell him straight up and admit how you feel. God, I'm lonely. And admit it in bitterness of soul. Admit them. Don't ignore them, bury them, or deny them. Don't sit in them. Don't feel guilty because of them. Why do we always hesitate to admit that? The thought I had this week was this. Perhaps we don't like admitting because it feels like quitting. If we admit that we're down in the dumps, maybe that feels like we've quit and now we're stuck there. Could it be that instead of admitting being like quitting, maybe admitting is the first step to moving forward on it? So, a question to ask yourself. What do I need to admit? What do I need to admit? By the way, the whole idea of that if you admit it, it feels like quitting, who told you that? Was that the Holy Spirit of God saying, if you admit that you're feeling bad, you're just giving up? Was that the Holy Spirit of God, or was that a different kind of spirit telling you that? I think that would be a spirit from the underground telling you that. Number 2, you need to find a safe place. You need to find a safe place. Holidays bring expected stress, but sometimes they bring unexpected crises too, and that can scare us and depress us. In chapter 1, verse 9 of 1 Samuel, Hannah went to the tabernacle. Common, normal, did it on a regular basis. Eli the priest was sitting at his customary place beside the entrance. She went to a place that was safe. She went to a place that she'd been to before. Right in the middle of her pain, she took her pain to a safe place. She had been to the tabernacle before. She's used to seeing the old guy Eli there. She found a safe place, and a safe place is where you're accepted regardless of how you're feeling. You're encouraged, you can receive confidence, and you can share wisely and confidentially. What's your safe place? I hope and I pray to God this is a safe place for you, even if it's your first time. And I hope and pray that it's safe enough for you that you feel comfortable enough to come down to an altar, which could be the safest place in the world for you. I hope your life group is a safe place. Sorry, I just adjusted the mic. I hope your life group is a safe place. That's why we tell our life group leaders when someone shares a need or a situation they're going through, don't try and bring a quick fix. If someone says, man, I'm just feeling horrible right now this time of the year, that's not the time to say, well, hey, I was there, you need to do this. No, zip it. Zip it and just listen. Hey, you need to try this. Hey, I know someone that can help you with that. Zip it. Listen to them share. Let it be a safe place. And then when prayer's over, if they're open, feel free to go ahead and share your idea. Sometimes we just need to be heard, especially when we're down in the dumps. Society tells us you need to find your happy place. Find your happy place for yourself because you deserve it. Christ says, come away to a safe place for your soul because your soul needs it. You need that break. I would challenge you to ask yourself this question this morning. Have I confused my safe place with my sulking place? Because sometimes safe for me is just staying alone in the basement with my video games, with my Netflix, and just not being near anybody and just sending everybody Amazon gift cards so I don't even have to talk to them. I don't have to go to the post office. That's not a safe place. That's a sulking place. And that's the place where you can get deeper in what you need to get out of. You'll need to get to a safe place. Where was your safe place? What did it used to be? What did it used to look like? That as soon as you went there, it wasn't like all the problems disappeared, but like the pressure did. And you could breathe again. Your soul needs that breathing space. Another need you have when you're down in the dumps, I need to turn my attention to God. And we're still all in 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 10. You can fix your attention wherever you want it to be because you decide where your attention lands. And when you're in the dumps, turning inward just increases the size of the dump. And it's not because you're dumpy. It's just because that's what you're going to be in. You need to invite God into whatever you're doing. You need to invite him to be a part of whatever you're dealing with. As we looked already in verse 10, in bitterness of soul, Hannah wept much and prayed to the Lord. Now, hear me clearly. This is not, you just need to pray about it more and get over it. No. You've probably had that told to you before. I've had that told to me before. This is not, just pray more and it'll go away. Just pray more and it'll go away. No, but this is intentionally inviting Christ into the pain and into the process and into the dumps with you. Because naturally, when you're in the pain and the process of the dumps, you're going to push him and everybody else away. Are you not? Inviting him into it. So when we open the altar today, what pain do you need to invite him into? He allowed the pain in your life. And maybe that's one reason you push him away, but he did allow that pain. But that pain and that problem has a purpose. And maybe part of that purpose can be found if you'll admit it at the altar this morning. Here's something interesting to look at. What did Hannah actually pray? We don't know exactly how she did it. We know that she did it out of bitterness of soul, and she wept a lot, she cried a lot. But look at the words that she actually prayed. This is interesting. And she made a vow, saying, "O Lord Almighty, if you will only look upon your servant's misery and remember me, and not forget your servant, but give her a son." Remember, her whole thing was, my wife-in-law has tons of children, I have none. "Then I will give him to the Lord for all the days of his life, and no razor will ever be used on his head." I guess you couldn't be on our staff if no razor could be used on your head. What is she saying? She's saying, God, if you'll give me a son, I'll dedicate him back to you. Okay. I don't know about you, but that sounds a little bit like blackmail, doesn't it? I'm not sure that's what we're supposed to be doing. Promising God something. God, you do this, I'll do this. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, God. Come on. Deal. We're not equals, are we? It's interesting, though. There is some people that blackmail God, and they'll say, God, if you do this, then I'll do what I should be doing anyway. Or, God, if you don't do this, then I'm not going to go ahead and honor you in this area of my life. I'm not going to do what I'm supposed to do until you do what I want you to do, God. That's blackmail. This is a vow. What makes us different? Hannah's vow is, God, if you do this, I'll honor you out of that. Not, God, if you do this, I'll do what I'm supposed to do anyways because I'm trying to manipulate you and use my heart as leverage against you because that's the only thing you don't have, God. If I don't give it to you, you don't have my heart. I'm trying to leverage it against you. No, that's blackmail. But say, God, if you do this, I'm going to honor you out of it. That's a vow. What do your down in the dumps prayers sound like? What could they sound like if you fixed your attention on God? And the question to ask yourself today is there a vow I should authentically make before God? A vow. And do those cautiously. When's the most of the time that you make a vow? When you put the ring on. For some of you, it's the last vow you made. When we make a vow before God, God, if you grant me this, it's yours. It's yours. Number 4, I need to let someone know I'm hurting. I need to let someone know I'm hurting. You can sit and stay in the dumps alone, but you're not going to get through the dumps alone. And God doesn't desire anyone to go through the dumps alone. There's 2 people apparently Hannah trusted. One was her husband, who had that goofy name that I can't pronounce. Elkanah, we'll call him Elkie. Elkie, her husband, would say to her, Hannah, why are you weeping? Why don't you eat? Why are you downhearted? Tells you a lot about Hannah right there for what she's going through. Don't I mean more to you than 10 sons? 10 sons in that day would be like having 10 aces of spades if you're playing cards, man. Now, there's one way to look at this. Version 1 would say, Elkie is simply telling her, it's okay, get over it, man, you got me. And obviously, that nice wife's going to respond, no, it's not okay, leave me alone. But version 2, it could be, hey, let's look at what we have instead of what we don't have. Let's take a look at what we do have instead of what we don't have. The other person that she was apparently comfortable with and willing to share, let them know that she was hurting was the priest, Eli. Verse 12. She kept on praying to the Lord, and Eli observed her mouth. Odd. Hannah was praying in her heart, and her lips were moving, but her voice was not heard. Eli thought she was drunk and said to her, how long will you keep on getting drunk? Get rid of your wine. And here's that verse I read earlier. Not so, my Lord. I'm deeply troubled. I'm pouring out my heart. Don't take your servant for a wicked woman. I've been praying here out of my great anguish and grief. What should you do with great anguish and grief? Keep it to yourself. No. You've got to find someone you can share it with. Eli answered, watch this, because you're going to come across people that are in great anguish and grief these next couple of weeks. Watch what Eli said. Go in peace. May the God of Israel grant you what you have asked of him. May. Look at the word may. It's not a fake, empty promise. It's not a pray more and you'll get better. It's not a here's a band. It's not take 2 aspirin and call God in the morning kind of thing. Eli simply encouraged her. He blessed her, and he agreed with her in prayer. And that's all anyone will be able to do with you if you come down to the altar this morning. They won't be able to promise you anything, but they can encourage you, they can bless you, and agree with you in prayer. Without a promise of an outcome, he simply came alongside of Hannah. When you're down in the dumps, fix-it people are not necessary. When you're sharing a need in a life group, you're not sharing that need because you hope someone there can fix it. You don't need fix-it people, you need to come alongside people. And come alongside people, you find them in a safe place. And you might say, Pastor, I've tried sharing before, it didn't work. Maybe you didn't share it to someone, you shared to all ones. And you just threw it out on Facebook and shared to everybody, and whoever can hear what I have to say. You need to share to the right people. Maybe you shared to the wrong people. Some people are the wrong people to share your hurts to. Maybe it wasn't a safe place. Maybe you don't have that safe place right now. Or maybe your expectations were unrealistic. Well, I shared my hurt with them, and I still hurt. They're not there to fix it. They can't fix it, but they can come alongside where you're at. And I would challenge you to ask yourself this morning, am I a fix-it person, or am I a come alongside person? Which person do you want in your life when you're down in the dumps? Because honestly, most of us in this room have enough wisdom and intelligence that if you told us your situation, we could give you 3 easy steps that would probably help you go forward with it, but that's not what you need because you already know those 3 easy steps. You need someone to come alongside you and help you have the courage to take step number 1. Am I hitting home at all? Is that right? You just need someone to come alongside to help me take step 1 because right now I'm too fearful, I'm too tired, I'm too confused in my heart to even take step 1 to know which way to go. Lastly, number 5, I need to believe that God will help me. I need to believe that God will help me. We saw Eli's response to Hannah. He said, may you go in peace and may God grant you what you're asking for. He didn't say, hey, you're going to immediately have a baby. Way to go. Woohoo! Hannah's response was interesting too. Hannah's response says this, at the special time of year where everyone else is happy except her. She said, may your servant find favor in your eyes. Then she went her way. She got up. She didn't stay there. She ate something. Remember, she wasn't doing that. And her face was no longer downcast or sad. What changed? There's no hidden details here. Everything what was in the Bible we read. What changed? It does not say she instantly became pregnant. It does not say the wife-in-law was banished to never ever land. Oh, that would be pretty cool. It doesn't say her depression left immediately and disappeared. It doesn't. It doesn't say her pain was gone, that she had the guarantee of a child now. It didn't say the wicked witch died and her and Elkie lived happily ever after. How could she go from depressed and discouraged at the hardest time of the year with no appetite to eating and having a content face? But she did. Her time of worship, of authentic admitting before God, her time of counsel, her time of honesty with herself and honesty with God, got her to the spot where she can realize that the God she poured herself out to will hold her together. That the God you pour yourself out to will hold you together. And with God's faithfulness, and here's a thought, with God's faithfulness, your response can precede the results. Your response can precede the results. We think sometimes that we can only feel a certain way if circumstances push us that way. Are you happy? Yeah, I'm happy. Well, something must have made you happy. What is in the past that made you happy? What stops us from acting how we should feel? Let me rephrase that. An immature person waits for the feelings to start acting. I'm not going to love you until you give me a reason to love you. That's immature. It's selfish. A mature person can act their way into how they should be feeling. Well, I'm going to act as if I did love you. This is what I would do. I'm going to act as if I was happy. This is what I'm going to do. We don't have to wait to respond to something. You might want to ask yourself, what am I waiting to respond to? What situation has to happen for me to go ahead and start moving forward? Because that's a dangerous thing. Because that situation may not happen. That circumstance may not happen. So let me answer the question I think is probably being asked. Pastor, are you saying fake it till we make it? Are you saying just believe it and it'll happen, Pastor? No. This is not fake it till you make it. This is not believing it will happen. This is, I'm not going to allow my feelings to dictate my actions. Because I can't trust my feelings. They lie. This is not fake it till you make it. This is, I'm not going to wait for circumstances to lift me up to the next step because they may never happen. The sickness or illness may never leave. So-and-so may never return like they should. I don't have control over that. This is not believing it will happen. This is my circumstances will not dictate my level of contentment, and my response to God can precede the results I'm hoping for. You can get up from this altar this morning and have nothing changed outside these four walls, but have everything changed in here. And all of a sudden, that mountain that looked so massive now looks like how it should in compared to the view of the time you spent with your God. Tyler, can you bring your team up, friend? I think I have this next verse on there. Yeah. The Apostle Peter, after all he went through, you want to talk about somebody who had anxiety, someone who was quick to speak? The Apostle Peter, every time there was something to be said, he said it. And every time there wasn't something to be said, he said it anyway. And caught himself a pretty anxious guy. He said this, cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. Would you stand with me this morning?